Hey everyone, it's Sarah. I'm here today with a book talk, and today I'm going to be talking about The Walls Around Us by Nova Ren Suma. I read this book the other night. I started this book a few weeks ago. I read like 10 pages and then I got interrupted. But the other night I sat down to read some of it, and I ended up staying up until 2 in the morning finishing the whole thing because it was so good and I could not put it down. So I have heard a lot about Nova Ren Suma, and I've been wanting to read her books for a while now, but recently I was accepted into a writing residency in Austin, Texas in November that she's going to be leading. So, once I found out I was accepted into that, I really wanted to pick up her books and get a chance to read, what she was all about. And I am really glad that I did. This is her newest book. It came out, I think, in March of this year. It's sort of a mystery thriller with a touch of paranormal, magical realism, kind of. I saw a review the other day that described it as Orange is the New Black Swan, which I think is pretty accurate. So think of a young adult version of Orange is the New Black and Black Swan, and this is pretty much what you get. So it centers around 3 different characters, but it's told from 2 different points of view. It goes back and forth between Amber, who's in a juvenile detention center, and Violet, who is a ballerina on the outside. Violet's best friend, Ori, was just arrested recently. She was convicted of killing 2 teenage girls who were also ballerinas. So this is how the novel starts. There's kind of 2 different timelines. There's sort of Amber's timeline, and then there's kind of Violet's timeline, and they're woven together as the whole story goes on. So the main reason I couldn't put it down was because I had so many questions and there were so many things that I wanted to find out. I saw some reviews of people who didn't like this book because they thought it was confusing and they couldn't necessarily follow what exactly was going on. I didn't have that problem with it. I mean, I was kind of confused at some parts, but I just kind of went with it, and I kind of just trusted that it would all be worked out by the end, and I feel like it was worked out by the end. I can understand how people wouldn't necessarily enjoy the ending, because I feel like it kind of leaves it open for interpretation to a certain extent. But I really enjoy that. Like, I feel like every reader can get something different out of it, and I really like that. I absolutely loved Nova Ren Suma's writing style. I thought it was incredible. It was very unique. I haven't seen another YA like this. It was very unpredictable, and you didn't see a lot of cliche kind of descriptions of things that we always see in YA. And the characters were really, really complex. And my opinion of the characters kept changing as I read on. And there were a lot of surprises as well. The way she used the 2 points of view was really, really nice. Each character had a very, very distinct voice, which I really admire. And I liked how all of the characters had kind of flaws and good things about them. Some of the characters were better than others. Violet, I didn't think she was particularly a likable character, even from the very beginning. But it was interesting to read from her perspective, and you could really put yourself in her shoes and understand kind of why she was the way that she was, and how she saw things. I really enjoyed how this book makes you think. Like, I haven't been able to stop thinking about this book since I finished it. It's one of those books that I really want to reread because I think I will get a lot more out of it the second time. It's also one of those books I feel like you could reread it several times and get something new each time. Basically, I just really loved this book, and I think Nova Ren Suma is a very talented writer, and I am very excited to go study with her now. Even more excited than I already was. This is easily one of my favorite books that I've read this year, if not my favorite book that I've read this year. I definitely recommend picking it up. I really enjoyed the magical realism aspect of it. I thought that was done really well. I thought the way that she wove the two stories together was really, really well done. Okay, I really need to talk about this ending with somebody, so if you have not read the book, I would stop watching now. I'm going to go into spoiler territory. If you have read the book, please stick around because I really need to talk to someone about this. And if you haven't read the book, go read it now and come back. Alright, those of you who don't want to be spoiled, bye! Okay, so here's what I think happened in the end. I feel like the prisoners were all, you know, in some kind of weird purgatory afterlife situation as ghosts or spirits or something to that effect. But they were in the actual prison reliving this over and over and over again. And while in reality the prison was, you know, abandoned and the, you know, plants and grass and everything was kind of taking over, in this weird sort of parallel afterlife, if you will, the prisoners saw the prison the way that it was when they were there. And I feel like there are times when these two realities can kind of like overlap, which is why Amber could see and hear Violet, and why at one point she could kind of see the way that it looked in reality. So I think all the prisoners were just kind of like reliving this over and over again. And I think them all being released, and when everything kind of malfunctions and they're all let out for a minute at the beginning of the book, I feel like that is just kind of a marker to mark the beginning of them reliving this over and over. And I feel like it was more symbolic than anything. I mean, it might have actually happened, but I feel like it was also a symbol of them kind of becoming free of the prison through death, but at the same time they're all brought back into the prison, so it's like they have died and they've gone on to some kind of afterlife, but they're still reliving this over and over again in the prison. I don't know if that makes sense. I was really surprised that Amber was actually guilty of her crime. I didn't think she was going to be guilty until she started talking about how she was writing down, you know, all of the ways that she wanted him to die in her diary. But even with her being guilty, you could still kind of understand why she did what she did. And even with Violet, who, as you're reading, you're seeing that she's an awful, awful character. I think the way that Nova Ren Suma crafted this, you get inside her mind so that by the time there is that big reveal, you don't condone what she's done or root for her in any way, but you see how she got to that point. I thought that Nova Ren Suma really captured what jealousy was like how jealous Violet was of Ori. That was very evident throughout the whole book, and I think she just really captured that really well. And all of the prisoners, except for Ori, were actually guilty of their crimes, which is why I think they might have been stuck in some kind of afterlife like this. And I feel like when they sort of switch Ori and Violet's places, that, you know, justice has been done. I really enjoyed the way that she ended this book. Yes, logically, you know, you don't quite understand how Violet and Ori could have switched places, but I think that's where the magical realism element comes in. And I think with the tone of the whole story, it really, really worked for me. I mean, I didn't think it was too out there or too weird. I know some people did. I saw in the reviews on Goodreads, and some people just did not understand this book, which I can kind of get, but, you know, every book is not for every person. This genre might not be for everybody. But needless to say, I really, really loved this book. If any of you have read this book, please let me know. I would love to talk to you about it. Alright, I will see you guys next time, and thanks for watching. Bye.